Hello everyone, my name is Vipul Jain and in this video I will be talking about modern controls which are introduced very recently for Canvas app in Power Apps. So let's first understand why modern controls have been introduced by Microsoft and what is its overview, what is modern controls all about. So these are actually new set of controls in a new category. You will find it in Power Apps Canvas app. The category name is modern controls, which you will see in action also. But these are new set of controls, I can say, which are based on Microsoft Fluent design system. So what is the purpose of introducing these modern controls precisely? What I understood is that they are very quick, they are very simple to use, and from a performance standpoint also they are very good, and they are highly functional, intuitive for the end users. At the same time, what maybe I understand from the modern controls is why they have been introduced, because it might be possible that Microsoft wants to make the controls similar both in the model driven apps and the Canvas app. So in February 2023, they introduced some new controls for model driven apps. And on the same lines, they have introduced in March 2023 the modern controls for Canvas app. That's what we are going to see today. Please remember, this is a preview feature on the day when I am creating this video. This is a preview feature for now. So the first and foremost thing is, which we will see in few minutes, in next couple of minutes, that how to enable the modern controls in Canvas app. So by default, they will not be available in your app. So you have to enable the settings for the enabling the modern app in your Power Apps Studio. So what you have to do, you have to go to the settings, click on upcoming features, just turn out the toggle, turn on the toggle for modern controls. And that is how the modern controls will be enabled. And you will see the category modern controls. And these are the modern controls which will be visible in your Power App Studio, which we are going to see live in few minutes. So what are the different types of controls which has been introduced till today when I am creating this video? 13 controls, 13 modern controls have been introduced by Microsoft, which are named as modern controls. Some of them are standard controls, which has been made the modern controls as well. So in this video, I will show you very quick comparison also between the standard controls and the modern controls. For example, button control, checkbox, drop down. These are also still available as the standard controls, but they are also available as modern controls. So I will do a very good comparison and you will try to understand that what is the comparison between the standard and the modern controls. But some of the controls which you can see on my screen as of now, they are newly introduced, which are not available as the standard controls. For example, this spinner control, progress bar, info button, tabs, all these are the new controls, and I will say very useful. But yes, these are in preview as of now. So without any further delay, let's see all these controls in action. So I will navigate to the Power Apps Studio. All right. So I am in the Power Apps Studio. So the first step, as I said, is to enable the modern controls in your Power Apps Studio. So what you have to do is you have to go to settings, go to the second settings, and in the upcoming features, in the preview features, if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see there is a setting called try out the modern controls. By default it is off. You just turn it on, you just toggle it on and just close the pop-up. The moment you will do this, in the insert menu you will see there is a new category which has been introduced, which is modern controls. And all the modern controls you can see, either you can add on your screen from here, or also you can add these modern controls from this particular option. So what we are going to do is we are going to see step by step all these controls very quickly, and I will do a very good comparison also, and I will tell you all the features of these modern controls. Before starting with the basic control, which is the text input, then I will go with text and so on. I just want to let you know there are two peculiar things which I found about modern controls. One is that there is an on change property which has been introduced for all these controls. I don't know the exact reason for now, but we are used to on select properties. But definitely there would be some maybe probability or proportion that why this on change property has been introduced for this modern controls. At the same time, what I want to tell you, the second peculiar thing which I found about these modern controls, that the branding and the theming properties which we get essentially with the standard controls is not available with the modern controls. I'm thinking that Microsoft might be introducing some theming engine or maybe working on some branding engine, which I'm not sure for now, and they will be introducing it for the modern controls. Because for the modern controls for now, the theming, the branding, changing the color of the controls is not possible at all. So let's see this in action. I'll start with a simple control, which is text input control. So I've added the text input control on my screen. It is just getting added, and then we'll see the different properties which are available for this control. You can see a text input control has been added, and just for the comparison, what I will do is I will also add a simple text input control, which is a standard control, which we have already used many a times in the Power Apps Studio. So this is a standard text input control, and this is the modern control. So the first foremost peculiar thing which I found about the modern control text box is that a blue border, you can see a blue border if I run this. So you can see a background, basically a background is associated with this control. And always, if you even change the theme or anything, this blue border will be available for this control. And on the same on the property side, if I show you, there is an on change property which is available. All right, so these are the basic differences. So the one most important difference which I found is for the text input we generally refer the default value, right? And for the modern text box control, there is a property called value. So if I give this value is, let's say, demo of modern controls, so that will be added. Now the most important thing which I was telling earlier also, that if I want to change the font or the color of this text, so you can see here, this is the demo of modern controls, right? This is the modern controls and this is the standard text box control. So if I want to change now the font size or maybe the color of this particular text, that is not available as of now with the modern control. So what are the properties which we have? Yes, required is there. Mode could be single line or multi-line of text. These are the different properties of this modern text box control. Now let's explore the other controls very quickly. The label control. Now again, this label control is a little bit different. I will say a little bit different with the standard label control. I'll go with the properties first of all. That what are the different properties which I liked basically for this label control. So there are two properties which has been introduced for the modern label control. One is the wrap. So you can definitely wrap your text. It is on and off, and the truncate. So you can see the two properties, truncate and wrap, which is not available with the standard label control. This is one peculiar thing which I found. And at the same time, this is a label control, as I said. So definitely on change property again you can see. So for all the modern controls, Microsoft has introduced the on change property for the modern controls. We'll come to that there could be some other use case for the on change, for defining the on change or introducing the on change property for the modern controls. But for now, that is the truth, that some of the properties related to branding and theming is not available. But yes, additional properties, as I said, for example, truncate, for example, wrap, those are available for the label control, label modern control. All right. So this is pretty good. Now, another thing which I wanted to show is that for this text, I want to showcase the text which is available in the modern text box. So the modern text box name you can see is text input canvas 1. So if I have to show here the text from the text box, so text, I will write text input canvas. I will write test input canvas 1. Now, generally what we do is to get the text from a text box in a label, we write dot text. But you see here, this dot text for this particular label is not going to work. It is giving me an error because you see here, this we are talking about the value. So value, if we write the value as a property, so now for the modern controls we have the value as a property. It will show me the value in this particular label, and you can see, I can see the text which is associated with the text box control in the modern label control. So these are some of the properties I'm telling you, and we are doing the comparison also between the standard controls and the modern controls. So we have talked about till now two controls, input control and the text control. Very quickly, I can show you the radio control as well, the radio group control. It is called radio group control, modern control. So Generally what we do is in the radio button, right? In the standard controls also we have the radio button, in the modern also. Now what is the difference, I'm going to tell you now. So in the items property of the radio control, or the radio group control precisely, for the modern controls, I can pass an array of values. So I can pass an array of values. I can say east, comma west, and comma north, and so on. Just three random values I'm taking. So I am taking the values east, west, and north, right? So these are the three values which I've taken for this control, east, west, north. And in the fields, you can definitely edit the values, add field, and add the value, and click on add. All right. Now you can see the values are added in the control, radio button control. One peculiar thing which I found about the radio button control, let me add, what I will do, let me add the standard control, which is a radio standard control. So I'm going to add the standard control so that we can make a very good comparison between the modern control and the standard radio control. So what I found is, precisely for the new radio control, is that there is a property which they have introduced for the modern control, which is default selected items. Now default selected items is only available in the standard controls for a combo box kind of a control. But for the standard radio control, the default selected items property was not there. So for the modern controls, they have introduced a property called default selected item. Now, if I give the default selected item, let's say north, for example, now if I pass the value just as a string, now it is going to give me an error and it will say expected table value. So basically, you have to pass the value, the default selected item value, as precisely as the table. So I'm just passing it as table. I'm just writing value north. So I'm just passed the value as north, and if I run this now, you see the north has been made as the default value for this radio control. So this is one peculiar thing which I found, and the similar thing in the modern control is done for the drop down as well. So drop down is almost similar, but what I liked about drop down is it's a sleek now, a sleek kind of a control. Maybe again the gray background, since we are exploring, and the same lines of the radio button, the default selected items property has been introduced for the drop down control as well. So these are some of the properties which I'm telling you in this video, so that you can make a very good comparison between the modern controls and the standard controls. So till now we have talked about the text input, text, maybe the radio button control, and the drop down control. So these four controls we have already talked about. Very quickly I will show you one more control, link. Again, I like this control. Link control is again a very good control, and the property of this link control, you see, it asks for a text and a URL. So any text I can give of the particular URL which I want to open. So I can write here, for example, SharePoint education by Vipul. So you see here, I have given the text, and for the URL, maybe I can take a value. I can pass any URL, and if I pass this value, then it will be created as a link. Now, one important thing which I found about this link control, the link modern control, if I run this app, this link modern control by default opens the link in a new tab. So if I click on this, you'll see that it will open a new tab in the browser, and it will open basically it will open the URL which I passed in my link control. So that is the one important thing which I found, and I didn't found till now any way that I can pass the value so that the URL can open in the same tab or a different tab. By default, it is opening in a new tab. So that was about the link control. Information button, yes, again, information button, I like this control. It's a new control. As I said, information button is not available as a standard control for now. The most important thing for the information or the info control, what I found is that you can pass the content. So I can say modern controls overview, right? So I can say modern controls overview, and if you click on this info, a small pop-up will open with the content which we have provided. So let's see this in action. So this is the info button control which I added. You can see I am hovering on it. It is changing the color. And when I click on it, you see modern controls overview. So it's a kind of a pop-up which has opened, which will definitely help the users when you will create a form and you give the info to any particular field. So you don't have to create it now because the standard control is not available earlier, but you can use this as the modern control. So we have talked about almost half of the controls now. What I'm going to do is now I'll create a new screen because it's become very clumsy to add all the controls on one screen. So I'll add another screen in my Power App Studio. All right. So we'll explore the remaining controls now. What is remaining? Okay, button. We can definitely explore. Before that, I can add the spinner. Spinner control also I liked it a lot, and it was maybe the almost waiting kind of a control, because I was very much waiting for this kind of control, because every time you have to create a loader experience or a loading experience. So I'll talk about this particular control properties. First of all, label you can provide appearance, primary or inverted. If you make it inverted, then it will be changing its color to blue. Label position, where you want to add the label. So let me add a label. First of all, loading. So I will add it as loading. So text will be added, and I can make sure that what should be my label position. It should be after, before. I generally like it below, so I'll make that to below. Now you can see the text has been moved to below. At the same time, you can change the spinner size, medium, tiny, extra small, and so on. So this is a very good control which definitely you can use. And maybe I can add a button here, and I can show you that how we can use the spinner control and the button control. So this is the modern button control. As I said, for the modern button control, the font, the color, all these properties are not available. So definitely you cannot change it. For now, what I can do is I can write the button text as show spinner, and this will be my button text for this one. And I'll add one more button on the screen, and I will say hide spinner. So I'm just going to write a small logic, and since these two buttons are looking similar, what I can do is I can make the type as primary, so that I can differentiate between the two buttons on the screen. So I have the two buttons, show spinner and hide spinner. So what I'm going to do is, it's very simple. What I'm going to do is, on the on select property of the button, so I will select the on select property of the button. I will create a variable using update context. So I'll write update context where show spinner. For one button I will say true. For one button I'll say true. I'll copy this, and similarly on the hide spinner button, in the on select property, I can write the same formula, and I will pass the update context variable as false. So what I'm doing is that on the click of the button, I want to show or hide the spinner accordingly. And now on the spinner, there is a property called visible. There is a property called visible. On the visible property of the spinner, I can pass my variable which I created, which is where show spinner. So let me see. It's not char, it's actually where. So where show spinner. Similarly here, where show spinner, where show spinner I have created. And on the property for the spinner, visible property, what I can write is where show spinner. All right. So if I run this, now you click on show spinner, the spinner will be visible. And if you click on hide spinner, the spinner will be hidden accordingly. So that is a very good use case which I've used for showing the spinner and the button to you. Now the remaining controls is checkbox. So I'll add a checkbox here, checkbox control. Now for the checkbox control, one peculiar thing again which I found is that if you run this I'll run this app. If you click on the checkbox, one pixel, it will dance here and there, up and down. So you see here, checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. It's going one pixel down, one pixel up, something like that. So this is the checkbox control. Now, one new property has been introduced for this checkbox control is checked. So there is a property called checked, which is for the checkbox control. And as compared to the standard control, which I am used to of those properties on checked and on unchecked, that has been removed from the modern checkbox control. Somehow there could be some particular reason, but definitely those properties were really useful for me, at least as an app maker. But now those properties are not available with the modern checkbox control. So that is one information which I wanted to share with you. Now another control is date picker. Again, I like this control. This is giving me the modern view of a date picker control. I can show you that. Uh, Maybe I can run this app, and then you can select any date, and when you select the date, you don't have to click again on OK. So there is no OK anymore. You just select the control directly. It's very clean, and you can change the year, you can select the month, and so on. So this date picker control also I liked it very much. Similarly, the other control is the progress bar. Progress bar, again, it's a very pretty good control which has been introduced. The progress bar control comes with the multiple properties: thickness, shape, and indeterminate. So indeterminate means that if I enable it, this indeterminate, what will happen? That your progress bar will fly like zoom, zoom, zoom here and there, right? So you see here, it's moving here and there, here and there. So that is called the indeterminate. But let me disable that property. So what will happen? It will show you the progress bar as it progresses from maybe 0 to 100. And at the same time, you can identify the colors, and you can change the color based on the success, warning, and error for this progress bar control. The last control which is pending, so that is the tab list control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more screen, and on that screen I'm going to add the last control which I'm going to show you in this video, is the tab list control. So I have added a tab list control here. Now, tab list control, you can definitely pass the items as an array, or you can select a data source. For this particular demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a connection with my SharePoint list where I have the data. So the data is residing in a project request list. So quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a connection with a SharePoint list. So I'll select SharePoint, make a connection, search for the site collection URL for me. It will search for the site collection URL. And then what will happen, that I can select the list where my data is residing, which is project request. So I will connect to the project request list. I'll click on connect, and it will go ahead and it will make a connection. Why I'm doing this is I want to show this data in the tabs. All right. That's why I'm doing this. So this is my tab control. And for the items, I can take the value from the project request list. All right. This is my project request list. You can see the columns: title, description, project type, and so on. So now you see here that it has added the title as as the default column or the default tabs value. So I don't want the items to be displayed, or the title to be displayed as the tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. So what I can do is I can definitely change it. So I can click on edit. And since I want to show, let's say, the requester name as my tab's title or my tab names, so what I can do, I can move it at the top. So either you can click on three dots and click on move up, or what you can do is just drag and drop and move at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it to the top, and the requester is at the top now. Now you can see if I run this particular tab list. So this is the tab which you can see, and these are the requester names in my SharePoint list. So you can see here, these are the requester names in my SharePoint list, which is currently showing as the tabs. All right. So that is how you can use the tab control as well. Tab control, one important property which I liked about the tab control is that alignment. So alignment, either you can have the horizontal alignment or you can have the vertical alignment. But one important thing which I found about the vertical alignment is that if you precisely using this vertical alignment, if you want to move your particular tabs, then the complete control is moving. So essentially, I think so there should be a scroll bar for the tab control as well. Maybe Microsoft might be introducing it later on, but that it is what it is now. So definitely you can change the alignment, you can change the render size, medium, large, how you want to show your tab, so this becomes large. And at the same time, I can make the alignment as horizontal and vertical. Now, one use case of using this tab list control, very quickly I can show you that what you can do is that just add an edit form, and you can connect these tabs and the edit form together. So this particular edit form, the data source, I am again selecting the same list, project request, and it will show in the edit form. And then I can connect my tab list, which I took from the same list, and the edit form, and it can show you the data accordingly. So what I'm going to do is, for the form control, I'll just drag it a little below so that it looks good. I'll drag it till here, And since I don't want the attachment controls, so definitely I can edit the fields. I can remove the attachments from here. I removed it, and accordingly you can see it is showing me the edit form. But for now my tab list and my edit form is not connected. So for that, what I can do is I can go ahead for the item property. There is an item property of the edit form. I can choose the item property, and for this tab list, what I can say is tab list, let me check the name. Let me check the name of this particular uh, tab list control. So tab list control name is tab list 1. That's great. So on the item property, I can say tab list 1 dot selected. So that is how now when my tab item will be clicked, that will show the corresponding metadata of that particular item of the tab. So let's run this and see this in action. So you see here I have clicked on Thomas Philip. The edit form is showing me the data related to the Thomas Philip. Similarly for Venice Johnson, it's showing me the data related to Venice Johnson. For Vipuljan, it is showing me the data related to Vipuljan. One peculiar thing which I found in this particular thing is, you see here this user image. So there is a column in my list which is called the user image. The user image is a type of a column of hyperlink which should show the picture for that particular item. But currently you see here this user image is not showing me any value in this particular case. Reason being, I found that the hyperlink column type or the data type is not supported as of now, but definitely we can show that value by just tweaking some formula for the edit form. So that is how that value will be also visible. You can make a lookup to the list, and based on the ID you can compare the value, and then user image will also be visible. So that's all for this video. I have shown you all the modern controls. This is just the overview. I know there will be more controls in the future with more properties which Microsoft might be introducing. But for now, I have given you the overview of all the controls. Maybe one more control I can show you very quickly, which is the batch control. Now, batch control, although if you see the thumbnail, it shows you something like a user image. But when I added this on the screen, but when I added this on the screen, just give me a minute. All right. Yeah. So I added this batch control. I added this batch control on the screen, and you see this batch control is not giving me the exact idea for which purpose I can use this. Maybe my initial thought was that I could have used it for showing the image because that is a batch control, but you can see it is showing the content. So I can write like modern control. So it is showing me the modern control as a text. So it is basically taking the text as the input or the content as the input, which I really don't know what is the actual purpose for now for this batch controls. So that's all for this video. I have shown you all the controls. Maybe you can also start exploring these modern controls. But just last one point from my side before I close this video, that as I said, these modern controls are in preview for now. So you might be thinking that whether can I go ahead and use this in my production environment. So I will suggest don't use it for now in your production environment, but definitely you should explore these modern controls, and maybe very soon there will be new properties which will be introduced for these modern controls, and from preview these all controls will be available as generally available controls for all the users. That's all for this video. Thank you.